With Europa Universalis V announced, we keep learning more and more through the dev diaries about specific nations, content and expectation of a playthrough. Today we've learned more about Muscovy, which looks like this on the map of EU5. This is when you use the 3D map, and that's how it looks like when you use a 2D map, a flat map mode. What we also learned through this dev diary, that nations will be split into tiers, where on tier 1 we'll be having nations that have the most of the content, because they are the most important for the timeline of the gameplay. So it will be nations like Ottomans, Muscovy, France, Castile, etc. On tier 2 we'll be having interesting nations that players tend to play a lot, so Poland, Prussia, Venice, Eastern Roman Empire, etc. Then on tier 3 we'll be having nations that have a decent amount of content, but not as much as the others, like Mali that had its own dev diary, or Scotland. There will be also nations with very little amount of the events, but still unique events, and then at the very end of the queue there will be nations without specific content for themselves, but rather content that is specific to their religion, culture, government. We actually also did just learn that EU5, we knew it, will start in 1337, but we also learned that it's gonna finish in 1836, which means we have the full playthrough up until the start date of Victoria 3, so we'll be able, maybe at one point, to convert these gameplays. What's the crucial part of the start of Muscovy and its ruler Grand Prince Ivan Rurikovich is that they are in a region that is very fragmented, as you actually see here and here. There are a lot of Rus principalities fighting for the Eastern European region that are at the same time earlier invaded by the Mongols, and because of that they have a Tatar yoke mechanic, which will be talked about in a different dev diary, but it will be pretty much a tribute system connected to the Great Ord. So this is the starting situation of Moscow itself, where all of the nations marked here, they're in a personal union with that nation. Just keep in mind, PUs in EU5, they are supposed to not be as strong as in EU4. In the version that I recently played, they are stronger actually, but it's already nerfed in game from what we've heard. So we have nations like Novgorod here, Sovereign Lord Republic of Wielki Novgorod, Kostroma, Godobet, Suzdal, Uglich, Vladimir, Nizhny Novgorod. This is how the international organization of the Tatar yoke looks like, where all of the marked nations pay the Tatar yoke to the Golden Ord, while Muscovy is the nation that is supposed to collect the tribute for the Golden Ord and to just pass it to them. There will be plenty of unique estate privileges and guarantee forms that Muscovy starts with. That will be privileges like Kormelnie, which will be decreasing the maximum tax from the nobles. You don't earn anything from them anyway, but you can centralize your country faster, which might not be necessarily good for a nation like Russia later on. The Riyadh gives you a bit of efficiency of the cabinet, always useful, but it's just 5%. The Tsiaski office, in EU4, it's a guarantee form, I think tier 4. In EU5 it's gonna be an estate privilege that is gonna give you monthly army tradition. Then we've got a policy, which is Ruskaya Pravda, that gives the estate satisfaction but also progress to serfdom. And it was mentioned a bit in the previous dev diaries, but you have confirmation that here that when you enact a policy, it's never really immediate. It takes time to implement, in this case 730 days. What's worth mentioning, this took at a placeholder images. But you see, Ruskaya Pravda already has its own image. We get more and more of this. We have also some advances that are unique for Muscovy and Russia, like gatherers of tribute. Look at this. Subjects income. It's not all, they're just showing us some of them, and there'll be even more in the comment section that we'll move to later. Pomocne wojsko is army morale, 10%. Zasecznaya czerta is fortification maintenance. Look at this beautiful image. Pro-Braźniecki Semeniowski Imperial Guard is crumb power and military tactics. In general, Moscow has 109 dynamic historical events available, while there's another 73 that they unlock when they form Russia, which is 182 in general. It's a massive amount. For my Polish run, you might remember it had around 70 events available. So for a tier 1 country, we can expect around 150 plus events. I think England has like 230. So here are some examples of these events, like the Grand Prince campaigns against Wielki Novgorod, even about the Kremlin Monument, which is a unique building, so it's not like technically a monument, but that's a unique building that you can get in your capital that gives all of these bonuses to your location. An event about your coins, so the Denga and the Ruble, Gazi. That is unlocking a guarantee form that gives you efficiency of the cabinet. 15% is quite a lot. You remember that previous was just 5%, but also 10% admin efficiency. Rozriadni guarantee form is giving you all of these bonuses. An important one from them will be obviously higher taxation on the burghers, which is more worth than taxing the nobility because of the quantity, and also higher levy size. This is an interesting event because when the Eastern Roman Empire ceases to exist, you can marry the last lady from that dynasty. So it is Komnenos in this example, but it will be dynamic, depends who was the last dynasty of the Eastern Roman Empire. And this is pretty much for you to embrace, hey, I am the predecessor of the Eastern Roman Empire. I am the Orthodox guy, I am the third Rome. So Byzantine court ceremonies will give you cultural tradition, monthly prestige and monthly legitimacy, obviously with the higher cost of your card. Russia is obviously a formidable country, and that little flag here that you are seeing in the middle of it will be changing and dynamic depending who forms Russia. Already an improvement to EU4. So this will make you an empire, a tier 4 formidable country, and you need to own 508 locations in these mentioned regions. That is like example of like how they did it with a console. In general, all of the Russian principalities are starting 460 locations, so even if you conquer all of them, you still need a few more, ideally from the Golden Ore, to form Russia. And for all of you saying that expansion is too slow in that game, they mentioned that, yeah, of course, we had a QA testers that formed Russia easily by 1500. Is it slower expansion? I mean, it's a faster unification of Russia than in EU4. You can't form it before Tech Tender. There were many questions and thoughts in the community. Oh, will Russia have a Siberian frontier? Absolutely yes. In case of EU5, it will be a cabinet action that you unlock when you form Russia, which will be able to allow you to start colonizing province by province. You remember, a province is a few locations connected. Interestingly, unlike in EU4, the Siberian frontier actions will also be giving you over the 10 years various events that will allow you to process the settling the target province, how you're gonna target it, and obviously also it's not pops coming out of nowhere, you're moving pops from the other regions of your country. It wouldn't be the Muscovy and Russia experience if not the time of troubles. And to give you a bit of a background, which is also mentioned here, historical time of troubles came where the Rurik dynasty ended at the end of the 16th century, and it took almost 2 decades to find an actual new ruler that stayed in the country. Poland and Sweden were very much involved, and from the comments that this disaster will very much also involve the external powers. So this will be more historical than in EU4, I think. I think it will be also more hurting you than in EU4. I don't even remember what it did in EU4, it was just so easy to handle that. In the case of EU5, you get minus 100 estate satisfaction equilibrium, which is constant rebels from the estates, and much less food production. If you do manage to overcome the time of troubles, you unlock a number of new guarantee forms to reform your country. Like you see, Collegium is really nice because it is reducing the distance to capital cost. It is a really strong bonus. Efficiency of a cabinet, another 20% and 20% admin efficiency. Nakaz, and I already saw a comment, it should be Prikaz, is giving you revoke privilege cost and monthly progress to different societal values. Some more unique buildings that Muscovy/Russia will have, like Bolshoi Theater, like this guy doesn't look to enjoy it, and that is gonna unlock this building in your capital that gives monthly prestige, and also cultural tradition and monthly literacy. And this might be it for the dev diary, but I saw so much good stuff in the comment section, I'm gonna go through it. And you'll see there will be so much also of new content next week, including Venice, Genoa, Serbia, Georgia, Orthodox, and Eastern Roman Empire dev diaries. I'm gonna try to cover the most interesting ones. Kyiv from Ruthenia will have unique flavor, and there will be also a Cossack related flavor in game. Oprichna is another guarantee form that was also in EU4 that gives much reduced nobles power and possible guarantee forms. They also mention that there's content for the countries of the Russian culture, but not for any of the Russian minors. We decided to focus to unique content to Moscow and Novgorod while creating some Russian generic one, which is I think a good approach that was also very often in EU4, even in the DLCs, and here it is in vanilla. What's interesting, besides Russia having this different flag in the middle depending who formed it, it's gonna be the same for Great Britain and Spain. Someone is asking, is the most of the game done? What is being worked at the moment? And Pavia is saying, when the game is done, we'll announce a release date. They're still working on that game, it's very important, and it will be even visible in the replies here that they changed at the same day of the as they receive feedbacks and stuff in the game. And you could comment this with the meme from the Breaking Bad.
We're done when I say we're done.
There is an event to move the capital to St. Petersburg, the gateway to the west. And a fresh start, which you see, will transfer Neva to be a town, give prosperity makes its capital. Poland in that game has a similar event to move the capital to Warsaw, Warszawa. And that's what I had in mind. This is the estates names that they had before feedback from the users. Crown, boyars, patriarchs, burghers and commoners. So pretty much only boyars was unique. But in a few pages of feedback you'll see how they updated it. Somebody's asking if there will be content for Muscovy Civil War. There's a specific disaster about it. So they only showed us here the most interesting stuff, but there's thousands of more content for that country. Pavia, can you compare number of the dynamic historic events from Moscow Russia in EU5 to those earlier entries of the franchise? 187 seem a lot anyway, but just for a comparison. I think that after domination, there's around 100 events in EU4, so you get almost a double in EU5. Counting both dynamic historic events, disaster-related events, etc., there are over 200 events available for Moscow and Russia in EU5. So that's important, I was telling you that in my feedback videos. Yes, there's no mission trees in that game yet, but they are catching up with many more dynamic historical events, so I hope you'll not feel that there's no mission tree. I at least felt it in a positive way when playing as Poland, that the events were actually shaping that, and it's also a decision, because most of the events have a historical decision and an alternative decision. Like you have in EU4 when you choose if you go for the Piast or you go for the union with Lithuania. Anything about the Old Believers and the Nikon's reforms? There you go, it's all in the game already. Modernize the church or follow the heat on the Raskolniks. You see, historical path, that's this little sign, alternative. A St. Basil Cathedral event that allows you to construct a work of art, which is a type monument. So monuments are technically in game, but you know, in a different shape. Ritual people ask about specific content and the reply is, yeah, we have it. We have this as well. Are there events around the rise of Romanovs? Obviously they are, and you know, when I played as Poland, I also had events to start and create the Jagiellonian dynasty when the Piast dynasty ended. So after the first feedback, they changed clergy to duchowieństwo, burghers to mieszczaństwo, and peasants to krestiaństwo. And again, it was named boyars, but they already changed it to bojarstwo to be a better consistency between the estates. And there's also advance for the table of ranks, in case you were wondering. I think it was a guarantee form that is giving you the governed buttons in EU4, and it's giving mostly army tradition. Well, yeah, this is it for today. Let me know what you think about the level of the content that you're seeing from Muscovy, and you could already see what we were shown in today's diary. It's not 100% of the content. There's 180 events that this nation will be having. I am hoping to see even more in the coming weeks with the next nations. Thanks for watching. I hope to get access to EU5 at one point in the future again to show more videos, but in the meantime we'll keep talking about the content that they are showing to us in the dev diaries. Make sure to subscribe to get notified about this, and I'm gonna see you soon.